I used to think being a good mother meant always saying yes. Yes to babysitting. Yes to school runs. Yes to can you just? At any hour of the day. I thought if I kept saying yes, my daughter would know I loved her. Instead, one sentence at my own dinner table made me realize I had become something else to her. Not mom. Not grandma. Just free childcare. We were all sitting around the table that night. My daughter. Her husband. Their 2 kids. Me at the end like a piece of the furniture. I had cooked the meal. I had picked the kids up from school. I had done the laundry and cleaned the sticky fingerprints off the walls. Everyone was eating and talking over each other about their day. At some point, her husband said, "We should figure out what we'd do if your mom wasn't here. You know, like if she got sick or something." It wasn't cruel. It sounded like planning. My daughter laughed. She waved her fork in the air and said, "Please. If mom disappeared tomorrow, we'd just have to pay for a babysitter. She's just our free childcare. We'd survive." They all laughed. Even the kids giggled, not really understanding why. I smiled on the outside. I died a little on the inside. If you are watching this right now, tell me in the comments where you are watching from. USA, Canada, the UK, Australia, or somewhere else. And be honest with yourself as you listen. Are you the one giving free childcare? Or the one taking it for granted? I did not say anything that night. I did not throw my plate. I did not shout. That is not the way I was raised. I cleared the table. I washed the dishes while they watched a show in the living room. My daughter called out, "Thanks, Mom," without looking away from the screen. My hands moved on their own. Scrape, rinse, stack. Inside my chest, something cold was forming. By the time I lay down in the little bed in the spare room, I had heard that sentence at least 100 times in my head. She's just our free childcare. We'd survive. Survive. Like my value was equal to the savings on a babysitting app. I stared at the ceiling and thought about all the ways I had said yes since I moved in with them. When my husband died, my daughter said, "You shouldn't be alone, Mom. Move in with us. We'll take care of you, and you can help with the kids." It sounded like love, like safety. I sold the small house we had, put part of the money into a savings account, and brought the rest into their home in the form of furniture, groceries, little gifts. I slept in their spare room. I got up early to make breakfast. I walked the kids to school. I folded their laundry, even the underwear my daughter never had time to put away. At first, she thanked me a lot. "I don't know what we'd do without you," she'd say. "You're saving us." Slowly, the thanks turned into expectation. If I said I was tired, she would sigh and say, "Just this once, Mom. I have a meeting." If I mentioned wanting to go see a friend, she would frown and say, "On a weekday? Who's going to get the kids?" It became a silent rule in the house. I was there, so I would do it. Maybe you know that feeling. If you do, write, "I am not free" in the comments. Not to attack anyone. Just to remind yourself that your time and your back and your heart are worth something. The night after I heard that sentence at the table, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my daughter's hand waving me away like a coupon. I saw my grandchildren laughing because everyone else was. I saw myself standing at the stove, invisible. Just free childcare. The words kept bouncing around in my head like they had nowhere else to go. Around 3 in the morning, I sat up and turned on the lamp. My room was small. A bed. A dresser. A little chair with a pile of clean clothes my daughter never had time to fold. I looked at my suitcase in the corner. It still had the airline tag from when I had flown in after my husband died. I had never put it away properly. Maybe some part of me had never fully unpacked. That was the moment I decided to leave. Not later. Not after one more school project. Not after one more just this weekend. I decided that as soon as the sun came up, I would start packing my things. Not to run away in anger. To step away before I shattered completely. In the morning, I moved quietly. Old people can be very quiet when we want to. I folded my clothes and put them into the same suitcase I had brought. I packed my few personal items. My wedding photo. A small jewelry box. My medicines. I left behind the things I had bought for the house. The good pots. The nicer curtains. The board games I had purchased for the kids. Those could stay. They were part of this life now. I did not want to take their toys. I wanted to take back the parts of myself I still recognized. My daughter knocked on the door while I was zipping the suitcase. "Mom, the kids need breakfast," she called. "I'm running late." I opened the door. She looked at the suitcase, confused. "Are you going somewhere?" she asked, laughing a little like it was a joke. "Yes," I said. My voice was calm. "I am." Her smile faded. "What do you mean?" she asked. Is this a trip? You didn't tell me. I am moving out, I said. I've arranged to stay with a friend for a while. Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked like someone had taken away her script. What? Why? Is this about last night? Mom, it was just a joke. In jokes, people tell the truth they are too scared to say plainly, I replied. You think I am just free childcare. You think you would survive if I vanished tomorrow. I believe you. So I am giving you the chance to prove it. Don't be dramatic, she snapped, a little anger slipping in now that the shock was wearing off. You can't just leave. The kids will be devastated. They love you. I love them too, I said. That is why I am leaving now, before I start to resent them for something they did not choose. She stepped into the room, blocking the doorway. We need you, she said. The word stung. Need, not want. And I needed you to see me as more than a babysitter, I said. We are both disappointed. Where will you go? She demanded. You can't afford a place on your own. That's why you moved in. This was partly true. My pension was not big. A small apartment in this city would eat most of it. But I had put some money away after selling the house. I had an old friend in a neighboring town who had a spare room and had offered before. I'll manage, I said. Like you said you would. She reached for my suitcase. At least stay until we figure this out, she pleaded. Don't just walk out. You told me, in front of your children and your husband, that if I disappeared, you'd just hire a babysitter. I said quietly. I am not stopping you from doing that. I am just removing the part where I do it for free and cry into my pillow at night. Her eyes filled with tears then. I didn't mean it like that, she whispered. I was tired. We were joking. Everyone jokes about their parents. I know, I said. That is the problem. I picked up my suitcase. For a second, she did not move. Then she stepped aside. She did not hug me. I did not ask her to. In the hallway, the kids were half dressed, half watching cartoons. Grandma, where are you going? The older one asked. I have to go take care of some things, I said gently. Your mother will explain. Their faces fell. Will you come back? The younger one asked. I met my daughter's eyes over their heads. She looked away. We'll see, I said. I kissed their foreheads and walked out the front door. If you think I did the wrong thing, you can write that in the comments too. I am not here to make myself look perfect. I am here to tell you what happened. Outside, the air felt different, thinner and sharper. I loaded my suitcase into the trunk of a taxi I had called quietly the night before. As the car pulled away, I did not look back. If I did, I might change my mind. I stared straight ahead and told myself, you are not running away. You are walking toward the part of your life where you are allowed to be more than useful. I went to my friend Carla's house in the next town. She was a widow too. We had met at a support group. When I had mentioned months ago how tired I was from helping with the kids, she had said, if you ever need a few days break, I have a spare room. I had never taken her up on it. People like me are better at giving help than receiving it. Now I stood on her doorstep with a suitcase, feeling like a teenager again, except with more back pain. When she opened the door and saw me, her eyes widened. Oh my God, she said. You actually came. Come in. She took my bag without another word and put the kettle on. I told her what happened at the table. The sentence. The decision. The early morning packing. She listened without interrupting, her face growing more and more serious. You finally hit your limit, she said when I was done. It happens. People think mothers don't have one. Do you think I made a mistake? I asked. The question felt heavy in my chest. She shook her head. You made a boundary, she said. That's different. They will call you dramatic. They will say you abandoned them. But you did not abandon anyone. You stepped out of a role they had no right to trap you in forever. I stayed with Carla that first night. I slept better than I had in months. No one knocked on my door at 6 in the morning asking for missing shoes. No one shouted, Mom, he hit me, through the walls. In the morning, my phone had 3 missed calls. All from my daughter. No voicemails. No messages. Just the calls. I put the phone face down and ate breakfast. By the afternoon, there were 10 missed calls. By the evening, 15. The next morning, 27. Then 32. No calls from my grandchildren. Just my daughter and one from her husband. I did not pick up. Not because I wanted to hurt her. Because I knew if I answered too soon, the conversation would be all about her panic and none about my pain. On the 3rd day, the phone finally buzzed with a message. It was not long. Mom, please call. We need to talk. The kids are asking for you. I can't do this alone. I'm sorry. I stared at those last 2 words. I'm sorry. They were small. But they were real. My fingers hovered over the screen. If you have ever withheld a call just long enough to make someone feel what you felt, you will understand what I did next. I did not ignore her forever. I let it ring one more time, then I answered. Mom! Her voice on the other end was thin and frayed. I'm here, I said, and that was when the real story began. She started talking so fast I could barely follow. Mom, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it like that, I was tired. You know how I get, please come back, the kids are a mess, I'm late for work every day, the house is destroyed, I can't do this without you. Her words crashed over me like waves. I let her speak, let her run out of breath. When she finally stopped, there was a small, shaky silence. Are you done? I asked gently. She sniffed. Yes, she said. No, I don't know. I need you, Mom. There it was again. Need. I closed my eyes and took a slow breath. What exactly do you need? I asked. Say it plain. She hesitated. I need you to come back, she said. To help with the kids. To be here. Please. I was stupid. That joke was stupid. I shouldn't have said it. You didn't just make a joke, I said. You told the truth you've been living. You see me as your safety net, your backup plan, your unpaid worker. That didn't start last night. I know, she whispered. I do appreciate you. I don't say it enough. Appreciation is not the same as respect, I replied. You can say thank you 100 times, but if you still treat me like a tool, not a person, the words don't mean much. On the other end of the line, I heard a child crying. A door slammed. Her husband's voice muttered something I couldn't make out. She lowered her voice. They're fighting over the tablet, she said. They never used to fight this much. They used to fight, I said. I just used to be the one who stepped in before you noticed. Then come step in, she said, the edge of desperation cutting through her tone. I felt that old instinct rise in me, the one that wanted to fix everything. I imagined walking back into that house, picking up the pieces, sliding into my old seat at the table like nothing had happened. For a second, the comfort of that picture tempted me. Then I remembered lying in that small bed replaying her words. She's just our free childcare. We'd survive. I opened my eyes again. No, I said. Just one word. Small. Heavy. No, she echoed like it was a language she had never heard from me before. No, I am not going to move back into your house, I said, keeping my voice steady. No, I am not going to go back to the way things were. That is over. She sucked in a breath. So that's it, she said. You're just leaving us? I am leaving that role, I said. Not you. Not the kids. But I am done being the person you build your life on without ever asking what it costs me. She was quiet for a few long seconds. Then she asked in a smaller voice, What do you want then? It was the first time in a long time she had asked me that question. Not can you, or will you, but what do you want? I almost didn't know how to answer. For so long, my wants had been pushed under the pile of everyone else's needs. I want my own space, I said slowly. My own room. My own schedule. My own life. I want to be a grandmother, not a live-in nanny. I want to help because I choose to, not because I am expected to. We can do that, she said quickly. You can move back in and we'll give you more space, more respect. I'll tell the kids to do more. No, I cut in. You can't fix this by rearranging furniture. I cannot be myself under your roof anymore. We need some walls between us so we can see each other clearly again. On the other end, I heard her start to cry. Not the frustrated, sharp tears from before. Softer ones. Are you going to get an apartment? She asked. Mom, apartments are expensive. You can't afford that on your pension. I know you. I have some money put aside from the house, I said. And Carla is letting me stay here while I look. I will find something small. Maybe a room in a shared place. Maybe senior housing. It won't be easy, but it will be mine. Why didn't you tell me any of this before? She whispered. Why did it have to get this far? Because every time I tried to say I was tired, you heard it as complaining, not as a warning, I said. Because every time I hinted that I wanted a day off, you joked about how useless you'd be without me. Because I taught you, without meaning to, that I would never leave, no matter what you said. You're leaving now, she said. Yes, I replied. So we can have a chance at a different kind of relationship. Or none at all, if that's what you choose. There was a long pause. Then she asked something that cut through all her defenses. Do you hate me? She asked. I felt my heart crack a little at the fear in her voice. No, I said immediately. I love you. That's part of why this hurts so much. If I didn't care, I'd have left years ago and never looked back. Then can we see you? She asked. The kids keep asking where you are. I don't know what to tell them. I said you were visiting a friend. They keep asking when you're coming home. The word home slipped out of her mouth like habit. That is not my home, I thought. But I did not say it. Tell them the truth, I said instead. Tell them Grandma needed a break. Tell them grown-ups can get tired too. They won't understand, she protested. Maybe not now, I said. But they will someday. And it's better than telling them I vanished for no reason. She sniffed again. Can we meet somewhere? She asked. Like somewhere neutral. No pressure. Just to talk. And so they can see you. I considered. Meeting in a cafe. A park. A place where I could leave when I needed to, not when someone else decided the conversation was over. That felt safer. Yes, I said. We can do that. We agreed to meet in a small cafe halfway between her house and Carla's. Somewhere I used to go with my husband, back when we still went on little dates. When I walked in, I saw my daughter sitting at a table by the window. She looked older than she had a week ago. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair thrown up in a messy knot. The kids sat on either side of her, restless. When they saw me, they jumped up. Grandma! They shouted, rushing to hug me. Relief flooded through my body at the feel of their small arms. Hi, my loves, I said, squeezing them. My daughter stood more slowly. Hi, Mom, she said. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Then she stepped forward and hugged me too. It was a real hug this time. Not a drive-by on the way to the sink. We ordered drinks. Hot chocolate for the kids. Coffee for her. Tea for me. The children chattered about school, about a fight over a toy, about how Mom burns the pancakes now. My daughter flinched at that, but I smiled. Everyone burns pancakes sometimes, I said. It's part of learning. When the kids went to look at the pastry case, my daughter leaned in. We tried to do it without you, she admitted. We really did. I set alarms. I made lists. I thought, how hard can it be? People do this every day. People do, I said. But they don't all do it alone. We were always running, she continued. We've been late to school every day this week. I forgot picture day. The house looks like a bomb went off. I had to call in sick one morning because the youngest had a fever and there was no one else. She met my eyes. I always knew you helped, she said. I didn't realize how much until you weren't there. That is the thing about invisible work, I said. People don't see it until it stops. She took a sip of her coffee with shaking hands. I'm scared, she admitted. Scared I'm a bad mother. Scared I can't do this. Scared I ruined everything with one stupid sentence. You are not a bad mother, I said. You are a tired one. And you learned from me that mothers are allowed to be tired as long as they keep going anyway. That's on me as much as it is on you. She looked confused. What do you mean learned from you? She asked. I sat back and looked out the window for a moment, gathering my thoughts. When you were young, my mother moved in with us for a while, I said. Your grandmother. You barely remember her. She helped a lot. Cooked. Cleaned. Watched you when I was at work. I said thank you. I thought that was enough. One day she said, you know, if I dropped dead tomorrow, you'd fall apart. I laughed and said, don't be silly, we'd manage. She looked at me the way you looked at your kids when they said they can do their own laundry, and you know they can't. My daughter's eyes widened. I never knew that, she said. I never told you, I replied. And then she did die. Not the next day, but sooner than we thought. And I did fall apart. For a while. Then I pulled myself together and raised you with the idea that the woman of the house just keeps going, no matter how much she's carrying. I thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't realize I was teaching you to expect that from me too. We sat with that for a minute. Generations of women, all saying yes until they broke. I wish you had told me that story before, she said. Maybe I would have seen this coming. Maybe, I said. Or maybe we both had to hit this wall to wake up. The kids came back, their hands and faces sticky from free cookie samples. Grandma, can we sit with you? They asked. Of course, I said, moving my chair to make space. They climbed onto my lap and leaned against me like nothing had changed. And in some ways for them, nothing had. I was still Grandma. I still smelled like soap and tea. I still wiped chocolate off their mouths with a napkin. But for me and my daughter, everything had changed. After we finished our drinks, my daughter walked me to the door. Will you ever come back to the house? She asked quietly. I took her hand. Maybe, I said. But if I do, it will be as a guest. Not as unpaid staff. We need to build something new before we try to live under the same roof again. What does new look like? She asked. It looks like this, I said. You and your husband hiring a babysitter when you want to go out, not assuming I will be there. It looks like me saying, I can take the kids on Tuesday afternoon, but not on Thursday, and you accepting that without sulking. It looks like you and me making plans to see each other without your children sometimes as two women, not just as mom and free help. It looks like you never again saying in front of anyone that I am just one thing to you. She squeezed my hand. I can try, she said. I want to try. Trying is a start, I said. But I am going to protect myself this time, even if you forget. That means if you start slipping back into old patterns, I will step back again. Not for revenge. For survival. I don't want you to feel like you have to survive me, she said, voice breaking. I want to be someone you are happy to see when I call, not someone you dread. Then talk to me like I am a person, I said. Not a function. We hugged again. It was messy, tears on both sides, kids tugging at my coat, asking when they could come to my new house. Over the next few weeks, I started to shape my new life. I found a small studio apartment in a quieter part of town. It was not fancy. The paint was a little chipped. The stove was old. But the rent was just low enough that my pension and the savings from the sale of my old house could cover it if I was careful. Carla helped me move in. We carried boxes up together, laughing about our knees and backs. Look at us, she said. Two old ladies starting over. Better late than never, I replied. I bought a used sofa, a second-hand table, and some cheap curtains. I hung a few pictures on the walls. My husband, my daughter as a baby, my grandchildren. Not too many. This was a new chapter, not a museum. The first night in my own place, I sat on the sofa in the quiet and listened. No little feet running down the hall. No dishwasher humming. No muffled arguments about homework. Just the hum of the fridge and the occasional car outside. It was lonely. Let me be honest about that. Freedom and loneliness live in the same house when you are older. You turn a corner and find one or the other. But when I went to bed and no one knocked on my door before dawn, I smiled in the dark. I was tired, but it was my tired. My daughter and I started building new habits. She called me not just when she needed something, but to tell me about her day. Sometimes she failed. Old habits are stubborn. More than once she started a call with, Mom, can you do me a huge favor? And I had to gently say, hello to you too. She would grimace and say, right. Sorry. How are you? And we would both laugh. We agreed that I would watch the kids one afternoon a week, and sometimes on a weekend if I felt up to it. Not every day. Not every crisis. When she needed more help, she reached out to neighbors, hired babysitters, traded favors with other parents. I did not swoop in automatically. At first, it hurt to hear that they had done things without me. The first time she said, we took the kids to the park on Saturday, and I realized I had not been there, my heart pinched. Then I reminded myself, you raised her to be a mother. Now let her be one. One afternoon, a few months later, I was at my apartment reading when there was a knock on my door. I assumed it was Carla, but when I opened it, my daughter stood there with a small bag in her hand. What are you doing here? I asked, surprised. You didn't call. I know, she said. I wanted to try something. She lifted the bag a little. Can I stay the night? She asked. Just me. Not the kids. I told them I was having a sleepover at Grandma's. They thought that was hilarious. I stepped aside. Of course, I said. Come in. That night, for the first time in years, we sat together as two adults without anyone else tugging at us. We made simple food. We watched an old movie. She fell asleep with her head on my shoulder, like she did when she was little. In the morning, she helped me tidy the kitchen. As she was leaving, she said, Now I see why you wanted your own place. It's quiet. And yours. It is, I said. And you're welcome here. As my daughter. Not as my boss. She laughed. Deal. She said, "Dud, if you are still listening, I want you to hear this part clearly. Leaving did not fix everything. It did not suddenly turn my daughter into a saint or me into a perfect boundary setter. We still slip. She still calls sometimes with panic in her voice when a kid is sick and her husband is out of town. And sometimes I still say yes when I should say, I can't today. But there is a new word in our conversations now that was not there before. Can, not must. Not have to. Can you? And sometimes I answer, no, I can't. And the world does not end. She finds another way. And when I do say yes, it feels like a gift, not a duty. One evening, months after I moved out, we were all at my new place. The kids were sitting on the floor drawing. My daughter and her husband were on the sofa. We ordered takeout because I did not feel like cooking, and no one complained. At some point, her husband said, Remember when you first moved out? I thought we were going to die. My daughter rolled her eyes. You thought we were going to die, she said. I knew we'd survive. I just didn't realize how messy it would be. They both looked at me. I'm glad you did it, she added quietly. If you had stayed, we never would have learned how much we were asking of you. And I never would have learned how much I was asking of myself, I said. The oldest grandchild looked up then. Grandma, are you ever going to move back in with us? They asked in that blunt way children have. My daughter opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked at me. I smiled. No, sweetheart, I said. This is my home now. But I will come to your house, and you will come to mine, and we will visit each other until you are too cool to hang out with an old lady. They laughed. Never, they said. We'll always hang out with you. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. But at least they will grow up knowing that Grandma had a life that did not live entirely inside their walls. Sometimes I think back to that night at the table when my daughter said, if Mom disappeared tomorrow, we'd just hire a babysitter. If I had swallowed my hurt and stayed, this story would be very different. I would probably still be in that spare room, still getting up in the dark, still being half of myself so everyone else could be whole. Instead, I chose to leave, to let the few days of chaos teach them what my presence really meant. It was risky. It was painful. It could have gone very wrong. They could have doubled down and shut me out. They didn't. That is not because I am perfect, or because they are monsters who needed to be punished. It is because, underneath the laziness and the habit and the jokes, there was love. It just needed a hard lesson to wake up. If you are the one giving everything right now, and you are afraid of what will happen if you stop, I am not telling you to pack your bags tonight. Only you know your situation. Only you know your safety, your finances, your options. But I am telling you this. You are allowed to have a limit. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to want a life that is more than service. And if the people who claim to love you only love you when you are useful, that is information. It might hurt, but it is better than living and dying as a ghost in your own story. If you are the one who has been listening to this with a knot in your stomach, maybe you recognize yourself in my daughter a little. Maybe you have said things like, I don't know what we'd do without you, while acting like you will never have to find out. You can change that. You do not need your mother or grandmother to disappear for 3 days to learn her value. You can start today by looking at what she does and saying, what can we take back? What can we handle ourselves? You can start by saying, thank you, and following it with, we can manage this one, go rest. In the end, this is not a story about a dramatic exit and a satisfying revenge. It is a story about an old woman who finally said, I am not just what I do for you, and a family that got the chance to hear her before it was too late. I left. My phone rang. I answered. And together, slowly, messily, we built a new way of being in each other's lives. One that lets me be mom and grandma and also simply me. Thank you for watching and staying to the end. Please do me a favor by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. This would encourage me in making more of this video. Leave a comment for type of story you would want to hear next.